Moderators just told me that for one of you it's at least 4 a.m. in the morning, so I do appreciate that time. I also want to thank Master Che for making this entire project possible. It was him that gave me the endorsement to do it and gave me the go-ahead and have given me access to all of the great masters that work under him. The access to those masters is not just, of course, this website. It's the access I get on a day-to-day basis, just simply being around them, talking to them, listening to them. I can remember being a little kid. Years ago, there was a banquet right here in Ottawa, and General Che was there. I sat in at that banquet, and I remember looking over at General Che's table and seeing General Che with all of these other masters, and they sat and they were talking, sometimes two masters to each other, another group of a couple masters talking, sometimes 3, 4, 5 at a time. General Che would sit back and just watch everybody. And as I watched them, I realized the minute he would open his mouth, as if there was some sort of heightened sense of awareness, people would instantly stop talking and look at him, and he'd say something. And basically, in my mind, at that time, he was making a decision on technique. Now, at the time, there was a guy I was sitting with, and he was watching too, and he noticed that I was watching. And he said, "Oh, they're talking politics. They're talking about how to get more money from us." And I kind of thought, oh, I don't really know what they're saying. I wish I was a fly at the table so I could listen. So now, 25 years later, and thousands and thousands and thousands of airline miles after, I can tell you that these people live, eat, and breathe Taekwondo. If there are political things to talk about, it's dealt with quickly, efficiently, to the point, and then moved on. You can almost get this sense that it's a chore for them to go through these sorts of things. But as soon as the technique comes back to the topic, as soon as the technical discussion comes to the forefront, everybody jumps to life. That's when their passion comes out. Not when they're talking business, when they're talking Taekwondo, when they're talking technique. Over the last number of years, I've been really fortunate to be able to sometimes sit down, whether it be in a hotel room, and listen to different masters talk, or even on an airline, traveling to some far-off place, getting a chance to hear masters speaking and explaining things to me, or even maybe just even on a seminar floor, as I walked around, a master would make a point. The thing I want to point out is that each of those occasions, never once did I see that negative guy there. He's nowhere to be found. He was my senior back in the day. But his attitude has disqualified him from all of the opportunities of learning. And that's where I want to start this class today. Basically start it with adjusting the mindset for success. My experience is anytime I've had a good idea, made good decisions, or had good intentions, good things came. Bad ideas, bad intentions, bad efforts, always bad things came. So, Taekwondo should be done with earnest. Taekwondo is meant to be a good thing, not a bad thing. So, I developed actually a program, and this kind of gets you into the mental approach of training. A lot of times we put effort into the physical side, but not the mental side. My program is called Help, Hurt, or Do Nothing. And it's simple. You take a sheet of paper, you write your goal at the top of the paper, and then you record all of the events, all the things you do in a day, and decide whether they helped you, hurt you, or did nothing for you. Now this is a program, or this is a little, a course, or a technique that I passed on to Taekwondo students, other athletes, students studying in schools or universities, or even executives. And a lot of them, as soon as I say, grab a sheet of paper and start writing, and I'm sure some of you guys just did, you thought, I'll never do that. I'm not going to put that sort of effort into something like, mental training. We want to get better at kicking, we kick. We want to get better at punching, we punch. If you want to improve any area, you've got to give yourself an exercise and do the exercise, right? Think about it as a race car, a race driving team. They bring their car into the shop, they tune it, they tweak it, they adjust it, they get it so it performs at its maximum capacity. And at the end, once they have it performing perfectly, they don't just simply look around the room and say, okay, who wants to drive it? You jump in. No, they have a driver that's equally trained, a driver that's capable of bringing the absolute best out of that machine. Well, in my machine, this is the driver, and this driver needs training. Your driver needs training too. The amount of effort that goes into a kick, you've got to put that sort of effort into your mental preparation. You've got to give the training to your driver. This is not a long exercise. The more often you do it, the easier it gets. So again, going back, you take your sheet of paper, you write your goal at the top, whatever that goal is. Win a world championships in 2010, achieve a certain grade in school, get a promotion in your job, whatever the goal is. And then at 3 different points in the day, You sit down and you look back on what you just did in that day segment. For example, from the time you get up until lunch, my 3 points were lunch, dinner, and just before bed. So at lunchtime, I have my goal on my sheet of paper already written. I sit down and I record the events I did in the day. And beside each point, I say, does that help me? Did that hurt me? Or did that do nothing for me in terms of achieving my goals? And you have to be specific. Like, you can't sit down at lunch and say, I got up, I went to work. There, now what? Got up, that helps. No, you have to be more specific. For example, you got up, what time? 8 a.m.? Okay, getting up at 8 a.m., what did that do for you? Well, it put you a little bit behind schedule. You jumped out of bed, you jumped in your car, you drove to work, you skipped breakfast. Okay, your goal is to win a world championships in 2010. Did that decision help you, hurt you, or do nothing for you? So for you, if that's your goal, skipping breakfast, getting up at 8 a.m. makes you skip breakfast, getting up at 8 a.m. hurts you. That's a decision that's bad. You made a bad decision, right hurt. You got to work, you sat down in front of your computer, you spent an hour reading the news before you did any actual work. Does that decision help you, hurt you, or do nothing for you? Maybe it gets your mind relaxed, so you're better able to approach your work. So maybe it helps. Or maybe it was something that you just do to kill a little bit of time, some personal time that you steal away, so that now when you start to do your job, you're a little bit rushed, you don't add as many details, and you get it done just in the nick of time. Well, if your goal is to achieve some sort of promotion at work, that's probably going to have to sit in the hurt column. You jumped up in the morning, you had time for breakfast, but you chugged down a cup of coffee and had 2 donuts. Again, is that going to help you, or is that going to hurt you? You'd have to say hurt, right? Because again, modern time, breakfast of champions is not coffee and donuts. We have to nurture our bodies and make better decisions in terms of what we intake. So the idea here is that every single time you write something, help, hurt, or do nothing, at the end of the day you review it. And then you have to take an honest look at all those things that you wrote down hurt for. You have to decide, what is your goal? Are you really going to work towards it? If my goal is simply to walk forward, I take step, and if I suddenly take a backward step, my brain's going to recognize and realize, hey, you've done a step in the wrong direction. Your goal is that way, not that way. Why are you walking backwards? Right? The body's going to become instantly aware, the brain will realize, and stop walking backwards and continue only taking steps forward. The whole idea is to hold yourself accountable, right? And it's based on the old Asian philosophy of question yourself 3 times per day. 3 times a day of questioning holds you accountable to the decisions you make each time you make a decision. If I know I'm doing something wrong, and I know I have to write that at the end of the day, as I'm doing it, I'm going to go to eat that donut, I know I have to write ate a donut and put hurt beside it, which calls into question my whole goal, and my whole approach towards achieving that goal is going to be a lot easier to put that donut down. If you never take the time to question yourself, you never take the time to hold yourself accountable, how on earth are you ever going to make the proper decisions? So again, this exercise is something that I've got people to do in the past, and anybody I've ever been able to convince to doing it has always had fantastic success. The first 3 or 4 days it becomes a chore. By the 5th or 6th day, you're set. By the end of the maybe 10, 11 days, you may not even need to keep doing it anymore, because now that's going to be registered into your mind. For each decision you make in a day, with your goal in the forefront of your brain, you will make better choices, and you will be able to you're going to be better prepared to start working towards, and of course, achieving your goals. Now, this is one of the pillars that I built a program on that I pass on to people here. It's called Think Like a Champ. I'm actually working on a book to publish, and also going to release that as an online training course. It's not available right now. It will be available in the future, but at this point, it's not available. But when I do make it available, I'll let you guys know. But again, this is a mindset training course, and it was developed by myself working towards my goals at the time were to win a world championship. I was doing a lot of things physically, but was lacking something, lacking something mentally. A lot of my friends, my wife maybe will tell you I'm lacking something mentally as well. But at this point,